William, just thank you for agreeing to sit down.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so starting off, cards on the table. I am not the biggest country music fan.
That's all right.
I actually kind of avoid it like the plague most of the time, but damn this heart of mine. There's something about your music that kind of breaks through. Why do you think that is?
I really don't know. With that song, and I do appreciate you saying that. That song specifically is sort of a departure from the record that I put out prior to this one. It's kind of got a little bit of a rock element to it, so it's almost kind of like, to me, like a country Tom Petty thing, and so maybe that's why it's cutting through a little bit for somebody who doesn't particularly like country music. But I'm really excited to have these new songs and to put them out there, and that's just one of the songs. So we're about to put another one out, and I'm really excited about it.
That would explain it. I am a bit of a Tom Petty fan.
Really?
So I liked hearing a little bit of that
Who's
influence
not?
in there. Right? Yeah, yeah. You use a lot of Spanish language in your music.
She asked me como te llamas, and I told her my name.
There's a lot of Mexican influence in there. Tell me about growing up in Del Rio and how that influenced your work.
Yeah, so a lot of my friends in Del Rio are bilingual, and that's just the way we grew up. That's how it is. Growing up on the border, it's inevitable that a lot of the Mexican culture sort of is just around you, and you pick up on it. And granted, my family is Hispanic as well, and when I first started playing music and singing, I joined a band in high school, and we played all over Del Rio, and we got out a little bit and played anywhere we could, but we played several songs in Spanish. It wasn't something that we did intentionally. It was just us knowing that if we played the songs that people liked, then it was only going to be a better show, and a lot of those songs happened to be in Spanish, just what was popular at the time, or even kind of older hits and stuff. So it was a really big melting pot as far as the songs that we would sing, and then that sort of stuck with me even when I started doing my own thing. I always just wanted to throw in 2 or 3 songs in Spanish just to tap into that side of me.
So I gotta kind of earn my pay as a journalist, ask you some tough questions here.
Sure.
We danced all night.
Right. We danced all night long.
Are those real mariachis that you used for that?
They are. It's actually a father and a son that I was able to get a hold of, and they agreed to be on the track, but they overdubbed everything. So the son, who is maybe about 15, 16 years old, one of the most talented kids I've ever seen or worked with, he played all the violins, and he just stacked them up several times to where it sounded like there was 10 of them. And his son, the father played the guitarrón, which is kind of the bass, and they both played trumpet. It was really insane. When I first asked them to be on the track, I was assuming they were going to bring a whole mariachi band, and it was just them 2 that showed up, and they did everything, and it sounded like a full band. So it was really cool to have them on that song.
So I hope you don't mind me saying, but you got a little bit of a baby face.
Thank you.
And then you've got that smooth baritone that doesn't really match up. Do you think that affects how you're received?
I think so, probably. You know, whether it's good or bad, I can't really tell you that, but I think it does throw people off, and it's been that way since I've started singing. So I've learned to get accustomed to it, and when I was living in Nashville full time, I used to do what they call writers' rounds, which is essentially where you get several people, maybe 2 or 3 people on stage, sometimes 4, and everybody's got their own songs, and you kind of just take turns singing songs that you wrote. And you kind of have to play off of whoever's playing in front of you. In other words, if somebody's playing a really happy song or like a really funny kind of tongue-in-cheek song, then it'd be good for you to play something a little bit more heartfelt and sad so that there's a little bit of contrast. Or vice versa, if somebody plays something really slow, it'd be good to pick it up and play something. So you're always trying to, I guess, I learned from doing that how to kind of play off of people. And one thing that I would lean into is singing one of my songs called Bourbon Whiskey. Well, you said it's over. Which is a lower register of a you know, in my voice when I sing that song. So for me to do that, it was just a way for me to kind of catch people off guard, and whether people were paying attention or not, if I busted out, you know, into that song, it usually kind of make people turn around. So, and I knew most of it was because people didn't really think that I would sound like that. So.
I listened to a bunch of your music, and I only heard one cover. It was Bruce Springsteen, Heart on Fire.
Yeah.
What went into deciding to cover that one specifically? Was he an influence
Yeah,
on you?
I'm on Fire. Yeah, it's one of those classic songs, and it's been covered by several other people. I actually kind of recorded that song on accident. We went into the studio, and it was just my producer and I. It was kind of in the middle of COVID, so nobody was really getting together or congregating in the studio. So it was almost like I booked some studio time. It was just me and him, and kind of a similar thing to Danced All Night Long. I just overdubbed and layered a bunch of instruments until it sounded like a full band was there. And when we recorded it and I sang it, we were just kind of messing around. I never thought that I'd really put it out, and it sounded so cool. I thought it sounded like a Western movie almost, that I ended up deciding to put it on the album that I was working on at the time. And so that's kind of how that song came out there. We were just trying to get levels and stuff, and I was just playing guitar, and it ended up being pretty cool.
So of all the songs that you've written so far, is there any that really has a special place for you?
I've got a song called In the Dark, which I really like a lot. There's a really cool guitar part in there. And the message too is something that's always kind of stuck with me. But yeah, it changes. You know, you as a songwriter, you're always constantly working on new things and new songs. So when people ask me what my favorite stuff is, it's honestly kind of what I've been working on the most recent stuff. That's always what I'm super hyper focused on. And of course, all the older songs that I've written are always fun to play, especially when people know them. We go out and play, and some of the people know the lyrics. But yeah, I've been really enjoying the songs that I've been writing. It's good whenever you're writing songs, because sometimes you go through little dry spells, but things have been pretty productive and creative for me lately. You said the message of that song was particularly special for you. What were you trying to say with it? You know, that song is sort of a song of kind of longing for somebody, and I mean, I don't need to get into the personal details of it, but it is really nice to have people come up to me and tell me that they connected with it in some sort of way, or helped them get through a breakup or something, or come to terms with the fact that you might miss somebody, and that's just how it is, and it might be like that for a long time. When I'm able to sing songs and have people tell me that they connect with it and relate to it, it's always a special feeling, because it makes you feel like you've done your job as a songwriter. You know? In one of your songs, you talk about going to San Antonio. Now you're here in the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. So how does it feel to be performing here? It's a dream come true, man. I've been coming to this since I was a kid. I used to see Gary Allan play on this stage, and I used to freak out how the stage rotates. And now I'm going to be on. Now that's how it's going to be. So it's been a really crazy ride, and it's just beginning, I feel like, for me, which is a blessing. I wanted to be a musician since I was a kid, and to have opportunities like this to do it and to live out my dream is really, really special. Anything you'd like to add? Anything I haven't asked about? No, I'd just like to thank the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo for having me out. It's, like I said, a dream come true, and I hope this is the first of many I get to play.
I got a question, just answer him.
Okay.
And we had touched on this earlier about George Strait being an influence. Can you mention any of the other people that aren't in the country western music genre that has an influence you? You said Bruce Springsteen, but there are other artists like across different genres. Across different genres, yes. I'm a huge, of course, I'm a fan of George Strait. This is all over the board. Frank Sinatra, I've admired his voice, and of course, all of his songs are classics. He also had the whole baby face, deep voice thing going. You know, that's just one of those things. But I'm a big Sinatra fan. Of course, Radney Foster. That man taught me just about everything I know. Randy Rogers,
is another man that I look up to and admire. He's helped me out tremendously. Clay Walker. Of course, you have the Eagles. I'm a very big Eagles fan, and the Beatles, John Lennon. It's interesting because I have different influences for different reasons. I've got my songwriter idols. I've got my singers that I idolize for the way they, you know, Sinatra being one of them, because Sinatra didn't really write or compose any of the songs he sang, but undeniably one of the best singers of all time. So my influences kind of range kind of on a broad spectrum because of that, because I am a songwriter, but I am also a singer and a musician and an entertainer. So I sort of look up to people for different reasons, but yeah, luckily there's so much great music out there that I'm able to pull inspiration from a lot of it.
Could you comment on other singer-songwriters like Bernie Taupin and?
Sure.
I mean, those type of people that write, they're in the psyche of America for now. And
Yes.
what do you think about the way they write their songs, and how does it correlate to what you do?
That's a great question. I've always been like a very big Neil Young fan, and when I was first starting to write songs, I remember listening a lot to him, and there's something really cool about, I feel like, his music that it's specific to something, but it's also broad enough to where you can relate to it, if that makes any sense. You never want to be too specific because you want to stay relatable to the people that are listening to it. So there's almost something cool about having a veil to where you almost don't know what somebody's talking about. That's sort of how my song, or I was trying to accomplish that when I wrote a song called In the Dark, the one that I was talking about earlier. It's accessible, it's relatable, but it's also a very, very personal song. It's about specific people in my life, and so that's a thing that I learned through Neil Young, of course, all the Beatles catalog. I'm a big Paul McCartney and John Lennon fan. And there's new songwriters that I'm finding out about every day. But yeah, I just try to be a sponge and soak up as much as I can.
There's probably a few people that, when you bring up Neil Young being an influence, that might be a controversial statement for, but I don't know.
His records are great, though, you know. But yeah, you know, I'm always trying to learn and do as much as I can. So.
I'm going to.
Do you feel that you've made it?
No, I'm not.
Explain.
I don't know. I feel grateful for what I've been able to accomplish in the short amount of time that I've been doing this, and I hope I get to do it for a lot longer. But I don't think I've made it, and I hope I never do, because I'm afraid that if I ever feel that way, that it'll make me feel sort of content, and I'll lose the hunger to keep learning and to keep listening to new music and to keep writing and chasing something. It's all, I guess it reminds me of, like, you know, have you ever wondered what the dog would do if you actually caught the mailman? You know, he wouldn't know what to do, and it's kind of the idea of, you don't want to get there, you just want to chase it. You want to keep growing and trying to make it. So no, I haven't made it.
A slightly less anxious version of saying it, that would be, it's the journey.
Yeah, it's the journey. You got to live it and love it the whole ride. You know, that's why we got into it. That's why I did, at least. You know, I love meeting people. I love touring. I want to do this for the rest of my life, and hopefully I get to.